These are the top 10 rock albums of 2025. This was a hard list to compile as I didn't have a clear winner. Most of these albums are pretty close in terms of quality. I have some older bands and I have some newer artists that I just discovered not too long ago. And we'll be doing these lists all throughout December, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss anything. Let me get into it. Coming in number 10 is a self-titled album by Superheaven. It was released on April 18, 2025 via Blue Grape Music. This is the band's third studio album and marks their return after a 10-year break. Following their 2015 release, Ours is Chrome, this is one of those albums I didn't listen to or review when it came out. I heard about it later and I checked it out. It's one of those grunge revival bands. They sound a lot like Alice in Chains. I had never listened to them before, but I read that this album has a more metallic sound and a better production value than their past two albums. Some of the key tracks include Humans for Toys, which is the album opener. It's a heavy hitting track with fuzzed out shoegazy riffs and a cynical worldview that sets the tone for the album. There's also Numb to What Is Real. This one has a big anthemic chorus and soaring vocals. There's also Long Gone, which is the lead single released in November 2024, featuring a heavy riff you can headbang to. There's also Stare at the Void, which is one of the album's longer songs, with some hypnotic shoegaze vibes. Overall, I thought it was pretty good.
I think I'll hide inside your bed sheets.
Coming in number 9 is The Revenge of Alice Cooper, the 8th studio album by American rock band Alice Cooper, released on July 25th, 2025 by Ear Music. It's the original band's first album in over 50 years since their 1973 album Muscle of Love, reuniting Alice Cooper with surviving members like bassist Dennis Dunaway and guitarist Michael Bruce. The album revives the classic 70s shock rock sound, blending horror themes, raw riffs, and high-energy tracks reminiscent of albums like Killer and School's Out. I liked the first single, Black Mamba. It was the lead single, had a guest appearance by Robbie Krieger of The Doors. It had a very classic Alice Cooper sound. There's also What Happened to You. This includes a posthumous guitar part from original guitarist Glenn Buxton, who died in 1997. There were two singles I didn't like, called Wild Ones and Up All Night, only because the lyrics were very, very, very cheesy, but has a few good classics like Kill the Flies and Blood on the Sun. In general, the album mixes garage rock, glam, and prog elements and sounds like a classic album. It's not ranked as high as I want it to be, but the track listing is a little hit and miss, but still good enough to make the list. Coming in number 8 is Halestorm with Everest. This is their 6th studio album, released on August 8, 2025 through Atlantic Records. The album was written from scratch in the studio. The album explores various themes related to mental health. Lizzie Hale described the album as a roller coaster of epic musical detours, representing the band's journey. Some of the standout tracks include Rain Your Blood on Me, which is about Lizzie Hale's role as a female leader in a male-dominated rock band. And there's a song, Like a Woman Can, which is about bisexuality. Album is filled with heavy riffs, complex drumming, bass grooves, and Lizzie Hale's powerful vocals. Other standouts include the lead single, Darkness Always Wins, which is a cinematic anthem, title track Everest, which is a brutal statement on perseverance, and there is Fallen Star and Watch Out, which have been performed live. I've never been a big fan of this band, but I thought this was one of their better albums, so for that reason, I have it on the list. Coming in at number 7 is Ghost with Skeletá. It's their 6th studio album, released on April 25th, 2025 through Loma Vista Recordings. In my opinion, this is a step down from their last 3 albums, but still good enough to make the list. Band is continuing their signature sound with songs that blend hard rock, arena rock, pop rock, and glam metal. Album was preceded by singles Satanized, Lacrima, and Peace Build, and the album topped the US Billboard 200, which is Ghost's first album to hit number 1. There are some standout tracks, such as the aforementioned Lacrima, which has hymnal verses, a soaring chorus, and emotional depth. Some critics call it one of the best songs and even has a hidden death growl, which adds some edge. There's also Misilia Amori, which has some memorable guitar riffs and lots of energy with sing-along hooks. This one is reminiscent of Black Sabbath's material from the mid-'80s. There's also Marks of the Evil One, which has a sinister groove, ominous chorus, and a very commanding presence. There's also maybe my favorite song, Umbra. It's one of the more proggy and cinematic tracks. I also heard a lot of Queen influence throughout the entire album. It's not the best Ghost album, but good enough to make the list. Coming in number 6 is Spock's Beard with the Archaeoptimist, released on November 21st, 2025 through a record label called Madfish. It's their first album on this label. If you didn't know, this band plays a blend of progressive rock and prog metal. It's the band's 14th studio album, their first new studio album in 7 years. This is following 2018's Noise Floor. I was only familiar with this band because Neil Morse released an album last year, and I know he founded the band, but he's no longer in it. He left in 2002, but his brother Alan Morse is still in the band, and the only constant member. If you've never listened to them, their sound is similar to classic prog bands like Yes, Gentle Giant, Pink Floyd, and early Genesis. The album has 6 tracks with a total runtime of just over 61 minutes. Opening track Invisible was the first single released from the album. It was a very cool prog rock song. There was also a Forethoughts, which is the 4th installment in this cross-album suite that started with Thoughts in 1996. Then there is the Archaeoptimist, the title track, and this one is about a young girl's journey from inspiration to leader in a post-cataclysmic world. The album was released not too long ago, so I haven't spent that much time with it, but I liked it enough to make the list. Coming in number 5 is Jethro Tull with Curious Ruminant. This is their 24th studio album, released on March 7th, 2025. It's their 3rd album in 4 years, following the Zella Jean from 2022 and Rock Float from 2023. Ian Anderson described the album's lyrical content as a little more personal, a little more heart on sleeve than previous works, with the title referring to humans thinking something through or ruminating on an idea. I thought it was one of the more folk rock sounding albums of the modern day trilogy. I would compare the album to either Songs from the Wood or Heavy Horses. The album includes a nearly 17-minute epic, Drink from the Same Well, which is one of the longest songs the band has ever recorded. I thought this track was okay, but it kind of drags a little bit, so that kind of brings the album down a little bit. But with that being said, there are lots of classic tracks, such as Stygian Hand, one of the best on the album. It's a proggy folk rocker with a great riff, some mandolin parts, and Ian Anderson delivers a great vocal performance. It has a catchy feel and reminds me of classic Jethro Tull. There was also Over Jerusalem. The track is about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. It blends folk and progressive rock elements with a very strong guitar solo and powerful lyrical moments. There's also the Tipu House. This track is an upbeat, energetic mix of rock and folk, reminiscent of the band's late 70s folk-themed album, like the aforementioned Songs from the Wood and Heavy Horses. Finally, there's Puppet and the Puppet Master, which is an upbeat track including prominent flute work, including a guitar solo from Jack Clark. Overall, I have enjoyed these last 3 Jethro Tull albums that have come out over the past 4 years. I am a big fan. For that reason, it's on the list. Coming in number 4 is LA Guns with Leopard Skin. This is their 15th studio album, released on April 4th, 2025 via Cleopatra Records. It's the 5th album since the band's core members Tracy Guns and Phil Lewis reunited in 2017. This one surprised me. I listened to their previous 2 albums. I didn't think they were anything special, but this one was much better. The album had a lot of variety and experimentation, including a bluesy, classic rock and 70s rock and roll vibe, with influences ranging from AC/DC and Led Zeppelin to the Rolling Stones and even James Brown. Some of the key tracks include Taste It, the album opener and lead single. It's a hard-rocking anthemic track with a big AC/DC style riff that really sets a strong, energetic tone. There was the other single, Lucky Motherfucker, featuring a classic LA Guns groove with a nasty, funky rhythm section and wah-wah guitars, harkening back to their signature sound. There was also The Grinder, which offers a full dose of sleaze rock, including some raw slide guitar work and a vocal delivery from Phil Lewis that can be compared to Aerosmith's Steven Tyler. There was also Hit and Run, which was a surprising mid-paced rocker with an almost REM or Velvet Underground feel, with psychedelic moody verses and a soaring chorus. The song showcases a more melodic side of the band. There was also Runaway Train, which is one of the album's biggest curveballs, that has this country blues stomp with dobro playing and train whistles. This was a risky but well-received stylistic departure. Like I said, an album that was much better than I was expecting it to be. So overall, it's pretty high on the list, number 4. So that's pretty cool. Coming in number 3 is Cheap Trick with All Washed Up. This is the 21st studio album, released on November 14, 2025 through BMG. They are one of the most consistent rock bands that started out in the 70s. I've never been a big fan. I only got into them with their previous album from 2021, In Another World, but I will have to explore their catalog one day. As for this album, the title is a nod to the 1980 album All Shook Up and pokes fun at the idea of a veteran 70s band in the modern music industry. The album is a combination of high-energy rockers and the more melodic Beatles-esque power pop songs. Some of the harder rockers include The Riff That Won't Quit. The song is often cited as a prime example of Rick Nielsen's guitar playing, the hard-driving track with a heavy classic rock crunch that captures the band's energetic side. There's also All Wrong, Gone Long, or All Wrong, Long Gone. I'm saying that wrong, but it's a cool, stomping, mid-tempo track featuring Robin Zander's powerful vocals, described by some having a resemblance to AC/DC. As for the power pop and melodic tracks, there's 12 Gates. That was the lead single, and this showcases the band's classic power pop formula, complete with sparkling guitars, glowing harmonies, and a soaring melody that evokes their best work from the 70s. There's also A Long Way to Worcester, which is a more dramatic mid-tempo track with interesting lyrics, strong melody line, and beautiful backing harmonies, showcasing a more developed emotional side. Overall, the album just came out. I thought it was very good, considering the age of the band, and it's high on my list. Coming in number 2 is Youngblood with Idols. This album was released earlier in the year on June 20, 2025. I just listened to it recently after he did an EP with Aerosmith, and I was curious about him. The album is much better than the Aerosmith EP. It was released through Locomotion Recordings and Capitol Records. The album is mostly a rock album, but also includes elements of stadium rock, Britpop, punk rock, glam, and orchestral elements. His influences range from Britpop acts like Oasis and The Verve to artists like David Bowie and My Chemical Romance. Lyrically, the album explores deeply personal subjects, including his struggles with ADHD, his path to sobriety, and the complexities of fame and self-worth. I like the opening track, Hello, Heaven, Hello. That is a 9-minute epic, sounds like a classic rock track. If you watch the music video, you can tell he's influenced by both David Bowie and Mick Jagger and just the terms of his stage presence. I also like the song called Zombie. It's an arena-sized rock ballad, deals with deep themes of emotional deterioration and the fear of losing yourself. The song also features orchestration by the London Philharmonic Orchestra. There's also Monday Murder, which has this post-punk influence and reminiscent of The Cure, and features a big orchestra as well. I haven't spent a lot of time on this album, but it is really good, and good enough to be number 2. I actually almost had it at number 1. I think maybe like these top 5 albums are almost interchangeable, but I guess my number 1 is going to be Styx with Circling from Above. It's their 18th studio album, released in July 2025, and their third album since 2017. The album blends progressive rock with pop elements, anthemic choruses, and thematic depth. Most songs were written by Tommy Shore, Lawrence Gowen, and Will Evankovich, and has 13 tracks with lyrics about technology and human connection. Also inspired partly by abandoned satellites that can be seen on the cover art. The band is moving towards a pop prog sound with keyboards, guitars, and harmonies. It was very theatrical. I heard influences from Queen, Pink Floyd, and Yes. Key tracks include Circling from Above, which opens with a cinematic overture evoking an ethereal, floating perspective above Earth with lyrics about detachment and search for connection. There's also Build and Destroy, which was the lead single, featuring synth, wah-wah guitar solos and lyrics about human ingenuity. There's also Everybody Raise a Glass, a Queen-inspired rocker with orchestral elements, piano-driven energy, and a very optimistic feel. There's also a song called It's Clear, which is a ballad that evolves into a Western-infused rocker, featuring an anthemic chorus and Styx's vintage melodic interplay. Finally, there is Blue-Eyed Raven, which features Celtic folk elements like mandolin and fiddle, and poetic storytelling. Overall, a strong release from a legacy band. So that is all. Check out my playlist that includes all of my end of the year content. Next video will be doom metal, and then after that death metal. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you in the next one.